What's up, everybody? Happy 4th of July if you're watching this anytime near where we release it. It is the day after. We had some fireworks. We had some fun. We had some blockbuster movies and tons of movies to talk about. I got to be honest, Travis. I am desperately wondering what is on the rest of your shirt. I feel like it's not just a list of the presidents.
Oh, see if I can tilt it down. White man, white man, white man, white man. And then you get down to the bottom.
The clown. Yeah. I knew it had to be something. I knew it had to be something. I'm glad I was right. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, welcome everybody to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Hobson. That is John Nolan. We are Punch Drunk Critics. You can find our site every day at punchdrunkcritics.com where we talk about movies, keep up with a few of the films that are out there, and review as much as we can every single week. So yeah, this is a pretty busy week. Fourth of July weekend usually tends to be. So it kind of feels right to be back to normal in a sense. So we got
Mhm.
like the Tomorrow War, which is out. Forever Purge came out. What else came out this week? There's a lot. Zola came out this week, which we aren't going to review fully, but it'll get mentioned later on anyway. We're going to be talking about our best movies of the year so far, since we are just past the halfway point of the year.
2021 halfway over. Jesus.
I know, right? It's crazy. So we're gonna do that, and there was a lot more that came out this week too, like Summer of Soul, which is a big week for Sundance movies because Zola and Summer of Soul were big Sundance films. So
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of stuff going on this week.
Yeah, it was a big release weekend, and I think, if you were just to look at the movies that came out and what they were about, it would seem like we're 100% back to normal. I mean, the only real glitch in that matrix is that something like the Tomorrow War, which would have typically been your top level blockbuster tentpole action movie of the summer, was came out on streaming on Amazon Prime. But other than that, I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah.
6 months into the year, and we're already almost done with this shit.
Did you also watch Fear Street Part One? Did you watch
I
that?
did, I
Okay.
did,
I
yeah.
didn't get a chance to watch it. I was thinking about watching it today. Uh, well, I had some. Well, I mean, this is not totally a day off. There's been a few things to do on the site today, but for the
Hmm.
most part, it's a day off. I'm kind of treating it like a day off. So I feel like I should take some time and watch a movie or so. I was thinking about watching that one. There was something else I was thinking about watching too. I can't
There's
think of it.
something funny to me about the fact that your day off relaxation is I'm gonna watch a movie since that's what you got to do for work every day anyway.
Well, I'm not gonna watch a movie that I need to
Yeah, there you
review.
go, there you go. I suppose there is a difference in that.
I got screens the next 2 days. I got Black Widow finally coming up this week for me. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I know you have.
Hmm.
And also, Space Jam Legacy is tomorrow, so I got those things I do need to review. So I'm not gonna
What
worry about those yet.
what is
Well,
your what is sorry to interrupt. What is your level of excitement for Space Jam? I mean, you and I
yeah,
were of a generation that was almost a little too old for Space Jam when it came out originally, but
I have no interest in Space Jam Legacy. I have no interest in LeBron James. Honestly, I didn't really care much for the original Space Jam. It was just like this novelty movie.
hmm.
It was fine. I don't necessarily think it needed it like demanded this sequel, but people have been planning this sequel for years.
I think
Oh,
since
but
LeBron started in the league, they've been talking about him being in Space Jam. Literally, like he signed his contract and they were
yeah,
like, next Space Jam.
yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, this thing has been in the works for a very long time. So, I personally didn't think it was ever really going to happen because the first announcement we really got about it was LeBron James coming on to like produce it,
Hmm.
and it's like okay, but it'll probably never happen. And then it just kind of happened all of a sudden. It's like oh well, here we are. So yeah, so Spatial Legacy that's coming up later on this week. But we got this to talk about this week because we got movies to review and we got movies to talk about that we love.
Hmm.
So let's get right down to it with the big one, which is the Tomorrow War. Like John said, this is out on Amazon Prime Video. Stars Chris Pratt, Betty Gilpin is in it. Love Betty
Oh,
Gilpin.
yeah.
Yvonne Strahovski, know you like
Oof.
her.
Yeah.
She's good too. And a lot of it, Sam Richardson, who we just talked about in Werewolves Within last week. So yeah, great cast, big sci-fi movie. I think in any of the year this would be a big four quadrant sort of uh, blockbuster, big screen flick.
Hmm.
and it's basically it originally titled Ghost Draft, and it basically it involves humanity being on the verge of destruction 30 years in the future by an alien invasion. So what they do is they send soldiers back in time to recruit soldiers from the past to come back, to go into the future and fight, help them fight this war. There's some
Mhm.
interesting dynamics at play here, and I'll be honest, I watched it twice.
Mhm.
It was the second time where I liked it more than the first, which is probably a good thing that I wrote my review after the second time I watched it. Um, I mean, it still would have got a good review, but it was better the second time. Um, the thing that I like most about this, the effects were like fine. They're not great. They're fine. Creature design on the aliens are pretty cool. I kind of like how they shoot needles out of their bodies. I think it's pretty cool. Uh,
Derivative of the xenomorphs, though, a little bit. Like, I guess
a
you
bit,
kind of have to go that way, but
yeah, I can see a little bit of that. But the thing I think I like the most about the Tomorrow War is that I think it treats the impact it has on the people seriously.
mhm.
So Chris Pratt's character is he plays a father, a family man, having domestic issues. This shows the impact it has on him and his family, and like pretty much all the characters, that all the crucial characters. And I think they do it in a way that makes sense. Like they can only take certain people from the past, like
Yeah.
go into the future. And I don't want to give away what the reason is that they can only take certain people, but it makes sense from a time travel perspective. Um, Action's pretty good. I don't think it's fantastic. It's directed by Chris McKay, who did the Lego Batman movie. This is his first live action movie. I think he does a pretty good job, but there was nothing in it action wise that truly blew me away. It was the sort of world building aspect to it that I think I like the most about the Tomorrow War.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was deeper in a lot of parts. I mean, you would get a lot of people, I'm sure, saying this is a dumb popcorn action movie, and sure it is, but it did seem like they gave, everybody wasn't cannon fodder. Your main character wasn't just there to look cool or look handsome and shoot things. There was a lot of depth to those levels, and I mean, I think I can almost appreciate the time. I always think that it sucks to be a director who loves sci-fi because there's only so many. Every story you do has to have one of like four main tenets, and time travel has to be that whole aspect has to be the worst of them all because your logic loops and all this and all that. But they actually did give some thought to that entire process, and I thought it really felt not original. Original, not the word I'm looking for, but just different. Um, the fight scenes were great, and it's weird because the whole time I watch this movie, I'm sitting there thinking, this is great. I'm really enjoying this. How much better would it be on the big screen? But then when I'm thinking about it after the movie, I'm like, I came up against the same things you did with the special effects, and usually watching things on a smaller screen is gonna be more forgiving to those special effects. So one of the things I've wondered about these type of movies when they make them for the small screen is if they're cutting the budget of the special effects. You know how back in the day continuity wasn't such an issue because they're like nobody's ever gonna see the movie again.
The budget for this was pretty big, if I remember right.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I mean, they're still spending the money, but I'm just saying, like, do they give the same eye to detail? Like, oh, we got to have this piece of the monster look right here because it's going to be on a 40-foot screen versus people are going to watch it at home, they might not notice.
I think it probably would have looked a lot cooler if we had seen it in the theater.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would have.
Um,
I think it probably would have been okay. Sort of like, I mean, not in the same way like Army of the Dead, which I think Army of the Dead, um, I think there probably was like bit of a smaller budget for that.
hmm
So I think it was always meant to be a Netflix movie, whereas I think this was originally meant to be on the big screen. I think.
hmm
So yeah, I think that's kind of why one reason why you might see a difference in terms of like visuals.
Yeah. And Chris Pratt really proves. I mean, number one thing I really appreciate it after years and years and years of seeing J.K. Simmons be a tough guy, like a in your face tough guy. I really appreciate it get to him to actually get to see him actually get in the action a little bit. Obviously he's not. Was that? Yeah. Um, but Chris Pratt, man, he just proves again. I really thought when he first got big that he'd be not a flash in the pan, but one of those people that everybody was, all about it first, but then his luster wore off. But he just seems more charming every time he's on screen. He's showing that he can do more and more. in terms of acting, in terms of really delving into a character, even when there's not much there. And I really hope that Indiana Jones 5 ends with some kind of handoff to him as the new Indiana Jones.
I mean, that was the rumor a few years ago, wasn't it? I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
I love that rumor, and I still want it to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But no, he is really good in this. It's funny. He's a producer in this movie. Like it's his first time producing. So I
Hmm.
interviewed him, which is on the site. It's on punchfrontcritics.com now. My interview with him and uh, Eldon Hodge, who's also in the movie, also really good. Um,
And
and
he's Aldous Hodge's brother, right?
yes, yeah.
Eldon and Aldous. If parents wanted to get some in creative names going.
Take one look at him, you can tell the Hodges are bros.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more. I mean, he's funny in the movie, but it's a little bit more of a it's a more serious role for him in some ways.
Hmm.
There's a lot more for him to deal with, and I think in my conversation with him, we kind of talked about that, wanting it to be a little bit more serious because he's a producer for the first time in his career.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it's an enjoyable movie. I don't think it's great, but it's a lot of fun. It's the kind of movie that you'd want to see in the summer,
Hmm.
around this time of year. So yeah, I think people should go and check it out. I mean, it's on Amazon Prime, so what do you got to lose?
Yeah, it's not gonna have the staying power of an Independence Day or something like that when you talk about summer blockbuster movies. But in a world where we get so few big time original
There's
films,
barely Independence Day resurgence.
well,
So
yeah, absolutely, it's got more staying power than that for sure. But it's definitely a movie that 10 years from now even will be playing on whatever the 10 years from now version of TNT is or TBS that you'll be watching over and over again because it does have that comfort quality. It is full of action. I had a lot of fun with it.
my chief complaint is that Betty Gilpin doesn't really get in any of the action.
I'm
That
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen her do legit action.
I mean, you saw her in The Hunt.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I thought you were gonna say in Glow. I was like, well, yeah, that's action, I guess. But um, yeah,
The Hunt.
she's
She's amazing in The Hunt.
yeah, she's been on the edge of really popping for a while. I hope she actually gets there because I think she's got a lot more to offer than like we ever. And Yvonne Strahovski, that's one of those words. I'm definitely not of Norwegian descent. I can't say those names at all. But her, she's been popping since she was on Chuck, and that's been 13, 14 years ago now. And she never got past the level that she's at now. But I think even in this, she proved it in Chuck. But I think you can see how she handles action in this movie as well. And if they're gonna do like a non-Black Widow type Black Widow movie, they need to give it to her and just see what she can do with it.
I like her. She's really good on The Handmaid's Tale every week. Um,
Oh, I forgot she's on that. Yeah.
yeah, she's doing that. But yeah, I don't know. She's fine. I like her.
Yeah.
She's really good in this too. I can see her possibly doing more, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Honestly, I think that time may have passed.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, I think there might have been a moment like during the Chuck time. I think that's over.
Yeah. Don't let them fool you thinking that Hollywood's woke. There is still some severely sexist ageism going on against women in Hollywood. Where Chris Pratt is the same age as her, he's still on his upward climb, and she's headed down.
Well, like, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say she's headed down. I just don't know if she's gonna get like a movie to herself where she gets like to be an action star. Like I don't know if that
Yeah.
would.
You think she's found Hollywood's given her niche, and that's where she's got to stay.
Yeah, she's because
Type deal.
some actors it's for actors and actresses. They hit a certain level and they just sort of stay there. But then
Mhm.
again, you never know because I mean, Lena Headey is still out there making a lot of movies and doing a lot of stuff. She's got um, Gunpowder Milkshake coming out pretty
Oh, I
soon.
cannot wait for that.
No, it's like I'm super pumped for that. So, and you just never know. You never know.
Mhm.
Something could turn around, but I just don't know if she's not going to suddenly get like a Marvel movie or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, don't cry for her though, because those people that we see that never pop, like I was saying, they're still making plenty of money, and they're working actors in Hollywood. So God bless them.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? I think actors would be the first ones to go if there was an actual purge. All those tough guys, those movie tough guys, they wouldn't make it. Um,
I
what?
think there was an actual purge, they'd probably go after actors because they think they're all liberals. So,
Yeah,
but
and then they'd find out the joke's on them because it's not about political leanings, it's about money, and they're all protected, and the rest of us are at the bottom.
pretty much.
So yeah,
Purge
what is this the fifth purge?
is the fifth and final.
Six if you include the TV show. Which have you ever watched the TV show?
Never watched it, and I always feel bad that I haven't watched it. I keep meaning to.
I
It's
put
one
it
of
on my queue like 2 weeks ago, and because I saw it was on one of the major streamers that I have now, and I just haven't got to it. And I've always been a fan of these Purge movies, but
I love them.
yeah, I didn't make my way around to the show. I really should have.
Yeah, I feel like I should. I feel like I missed my window because it came between the last movie and this one.
Well, that was my other question. Well, I mean, obviously it's got to be before this one, but
It was like right after the first Purge, which was
right.
and that was a prequel, which took us back to the how the Purge started.
That's
Um,
a fucked up story. If you can walk out of these movies still feeling good about the world, I mean, even though it's obviously, fake, if you can walk out feeling good about the world just because they've done such a good job in the previous ones at least of getting parallels to our current world to make you feel like it could happen,
it's
then you got something wrong with you.
it's interesting that this franchise it started in 2013, so we're still in the Obama era,
hmm
but it didn't really blow up until the Trump era.
Wonder why
And
that would be.
yeah, it's almost like there's like it's a dark reflection of our real life or something.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what makes these movies so scary, and I found this one to be um, even more scary because I could not watch it and not be thinking about January 6th in my mind the entire time.
Yeah.
I felt it because the characters in this purge, the new founding fathers have been reelected back into office, which immediately when they said that I was like, that's like the fear right now, that fear of like Trump getting reelected, and I was like,
hmm
and if he did, he would institute worse and worse things because he would be unchecked.
Oh yeah, and he'd have something to prove now.
Right, and he already knows he can get away. He already knows that the office shields you.
hmm
So like that's the only reason why he's been caught cheating in elections like 3 times.
He's
Anybody
been
else,
caught cheating on anything he's ever done,
right?
elections
Anybody else
withstanding.
anybody else would be in jail, but he used the power of the office to protect himself. So
hmm
he knows he can get away with it, and he would do worse things now. So that was the first thing that immediately popped in my head when the movie says that they've been reelected. I was like, oof, okay, that's bad.
hmm
So what happens? This thing that they created, this purge, they lose control of it. So what happens is you have the purge. It occurs, which is 12 hours where all violent crime basically is legal.
hmm All
Um,
crime, period.
all
You can do
crime
whatever you
period.
want.
Yep. And but what happens is after the purge is over, the people just keep purging
Yeah.
because because one day simply isn't enough for these people, and they have an agenda, and then that agenda is, of course, to uh, to purge the country of anybody feel is unworthy. And
hmm
you guess what color those people are.
color and class.
Yeah. So, but in terms of like the specifics, the story deals like with a wealthy white family. Josh Lucas is in there. Will Patton is in there.
Talk about somebody that's been on the edge of superstardom for years.
Yeah,
Josh
man,
Lucas has always been there.
he was for about a year. They tried. Wealthy Texas ranchers, um, and the Mexican family immigrants who come across the border and work for them, and they're kind of forced to work together
hmm
when they're under threat from these purgers who are coming after them. And I was thinking about why I love this movie so much is because it scares the shit out of me. The way this whole franchise scares the shit out of me.
hmm
But I think if in terms of how it's going to the franchise ending, I feel like this is a good way to go out on and on, go out with, which is sort of a story of races coming together ultimately to fight back against this.
hmm
At the same time, I mean, it's also very. dark and gloomy because it doesn't look like they're going to win.
That's why I want one more movie because you can say whatever you want, and that's why I kind of take. I mean, I don't take offense to it, but when people trash, the idea of America, even trash America how it is now, yeah, but the idea of, essentially Captain America nationalized, where the people coming together, looking out for your neighbor, all those things that are true American values. If you interject, not applying those only to one race or class or creed, then that's what I think would come to the top, and it would take a long time. It would be a hard fight, but that's what I really liked that this started to bring. And the other thing I was really respected about the Purge franchise.
I like your optimism, even if I don't share
I mean, you don't have to share it, but the way I see it is, if I don't have that optimism, then I'll just be depressed every day. And I think there's always more good people than bad people. It's just something to get them to stand up. And usually it's something that has to affect them. I mean, it's just the way people are. But, I always appreciated a couple things about the Purge. Number one, they had the balls to come out and say, because it's easy to go to racism and sexism and everything like that, but overlying all that, those things are absolutely a huge problem and exist and all that. But overlying all that, there's a classism problem. You have a ruling class that we have essentially here, and it always addressed that. And also, it knows, no matter who the director was, every single one of these movies knew how to exert or pull an anxiety out of you to make you feel how it would really be if this shit happened. And maybe that's, I mean, I'm sure it's because of what you're saying, like the possibility of it is a real thing in our lifetime, but for whatever reason, it felt like this could actually happen, and you felt the anxiety that these people felt.
Yeah, I mean, these people, these purgers, I mean, they're the oath keepers, they're the three percenters, they're all these groups, these domestic terrorism groups. If there was a purge tomorrow that was announced, they'd be the ones who were out there on the front killing people. I mean, that's who they
Mm.
are. That's who they would be. They're the Proud Boys. That's who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what James DeMonico, well, he didn't direct this one, but he directed like the other four, I believe. And he wrote all of them. And
Everardo Gout did this one.
right, and he was, I believe he wrote, I think, the last one, or co-wrote the last one. But I think that's the kind of parallel I was trying to draw. I
Hmm.
mean, I like I said before, I couldn't get the image of January 6th out of my mind when watching these folks because their agenda isn't that much different and their outlook isn't that much different. If you hear these people talk, like if you see the interviews of some of those people from January 6th, they sound just like these purgers. I mean,
Oh
they
yeah,
sound
yeah.
exactly. But I agree with you that these movies have always been really good at examining class and stuff like that. There's a really great scene in here where the ranch family, whose name I don't remember, but I think it might have been Walker. Um,
Um, Tucker. It was
the
Tucker.
Tucker clan, yeah, the Tucker clan. Um, they're basically, but they've been turned on by one of their ranchers, and he's a white guy, but he's you know tired of working for this rich family, basically. And so he has a whole gaggle of people there who come in and they take over and on the after the purge is over when everybody thinks they're safe.
Hmm.
And he had this conversation with he's got the family held hostage and and the dad is like yeah but that this isn't about like the people like while you're out here doing all of this the people who are getting rich off of what you're doing are in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
And it's like it's one of those things that it's like it's the kind of thing that you wish somebody would have told like the Tea Partiers and the people on January 6th. And you're like, while you're out here doing all this crap and getting yourself in trouble and and doing all this stuff on the ground, all the grunt work stuff,
Hmm.
people in the background are out there getting rich off of you. Like that's all
Same
they're
as
doing.
it's always been. The only difference between this and like Vietnam, for instance, is internal and all pretense is dropped. There's always going to be the rich guys in the back running the companies that sell the bullets and the guns that
Yeah,
bring in all the money, and everybody that gets kickbacks from them.
that's just that.
You
God
know.
damn it, John.
Sorry.
But yeah, but the movie has really always had a really critical eye on all that stuff, and I always thought that was
Yeah.
brilliant. Really good casting in this one. Ana de la Reguera, who was in Army of the Dead,
Mhm.
is in this. I love her. She's starting to become a favorite of mine, I think. And Tina Huerta, who we just talked about a couple weeks ago as possibly playing Namor in Black Panther.
Mhm.
Black Panther 2, he's in this as well. And of course, we mentioned Josh Lucas and Will Patton being in this. I'm in terms of like violence. I think these movies have never really been about gore. They've always been more about shock.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
but there's some good action in this as well. It's not. I don't think it's quite as action heavy as some of the other ones have been. But it's still some good stuff in there. I love the Nazi who is in the police van with the Mexicans,
Mhm.
and he's rattling off all the bullets that are firing. Like he's like, that's a AR-15.
Mhm.
For this, that's for that. Just by the sound of them ringing out outside the van, it's pretty nuts. That's a
Yeah.
really because you the whole time you're in there, you're like, he's gonna get loose.
Yep.
And what's he gonna do to the two Mexican folks in there when he gets
It's
loose?
the ticking time bomb. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why. Well, I felt that while this, I think the cultural impact of this, I guess is a word, was a little less heavy-handed than the other movies. Because of everything that's going on and that it's gotten worse here while we're looking at this, it almost seems more effective. But the Purge has never been, like you said, gore. And I always thought that was really showed a lot of restraint, because that it would be the easiest thing to do is to turn this into an action torture porn where you got people's heads strung up on the streets and things like that. But there's always hyper violence, but it wasn't. It's people getting shot, people getting stabbed, and then the camera moves on. It's not sticking with it. It's not. It's almost not glorifying the violence of it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So
So this is the end. I think this is a pretty good way to go out. I'm sad to see the franchise go. I mean, I really do love it. I look forward to these movies. I really do. I'm a little bit sad about that, but I'm also glad that it's ending before it gets bad. Like there hasn't been a bad Purge movie yet for me.
no, certainly not. And there have been some that were less good, but nothing that I would quantify as bad. And the only reason I'm okay with this being the last one is because the July 6th event, which you made mention of, ruined the chances for the next movie for me, because I wanted to see something completely hit you over the head, iconic, where all the people that come together to take out the rich ruling dickheads behind it all just march up the steps of the Capitol where they're all held up and take them out. But that's taken on a different context now, thanks to those jackasses earlier this year. Because that would be the perfect
Well, that's
ending
been
to
the
this.
sort of the thing for this movie, this franchise, right? It's like, how do you match some of the stuff that's going on already?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make yourself stand out when the world is really fucked up right now as it is?
Mm.
Uh, it's a little bit hard to compete.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know how much time we got already. I feel like we're running long, even though we're
We're
not.
at 30. And after you watch this, I would recommend you watch another movie that came out this weekend, The Boss Baby. It'll make you feel much better about everything.
But I'm glad I
So,
skipped it. How bad is it?
oh, Boss Baby, it's not bad. I mean, it's the same. It's
I didn't see the first one, so I mean,
yeah. I mean, Disney has this really genius approach to all their franchises now. Instead of making 5 movies, because the first Boss Baby came out 4 or 5 years ago, I think, is they'll make a movie and then they'll make a cheaper version of a TV show. Like Trolls has one, Boss Baby has one. Every movie they've made has a TV show that's the animation's a bit cheaper, but kids don't care. They use knockoff voice actors, all that stuff. So they extend the life of those franchises, those products, that much longer. So when Boss Baby 2, the movie, comes out, you have everybody ready to go see it. Now it's out on Paramount Plus, I believe, is where you can watch it.
Peacock. It's also
Peacock. I get the two of those mixed up all the time.
theaters and Peacock for those who have, like, I think, the highest tier subscription on Peacock. Because Peacock, like the basic joint is free,
Yeah.
and it's like the highest tier you pay. I don't know how
I
much.
really wish you hadn't brought that up. I'm gonna go on a rant now because
Oh,
Peacock is some bullshit, folks. Let me tell you a little something. I always pay the extra $2 for the ad free, and I did that with Peacock. I was like, man, what's wrong with my subscription? They're taking the money out every month, and I'm still seeing ads. So I finally look it up, and I go to peacock.com and all this stuff, and I found out even at the top tier, you may still get some ads due to contractual reasons, right? So I'm like, oh well. So the
Hulu,
movies, huh?
Hulu was like that too.
Well, right, but at Peacock they say contractual. So you figure like, okay, Arm& and Hammer or whoever, they had a contract, they can't do ad free. I get that. The ads you see are only Peacock ads. The only ads are giving you their own ads. How do they have a contract with themselves to do that? Break your movie up. Anyway.
Maybe they have a contract with whoever made like the production company for the or the
Yeah, yeah, for whatever show they're showing on Peacock.
yeah.
Don't
Because
don't
I mean, a lot
interject
of those
logic
shows,
into this. I want to be
a lot
mad.
of those shows they pick up are on Peacock are things they acquire.
Right.
It could be that they have an obligation to them.
Okay, Peacock, I picked the gauntlet back up. It's not being thrown down. I've been informed I am wrong.
I mean, I don't
but
know. I'm speculating. I'm just saying that's what it could be.
yeah.
So.
But no, Boss Baby it takes a weird turn where it's like it's years in the future. Both the babies are grown up, and there's something that makes them be able to turn back into babies for 48 hours. Bottom line is, your kids are going to love it, and nobody else is going to go see it other than kids. Alice Baldwin does a great job with the baby's voice again. It's funny, and it's not really geared towards adults. So
You know that first one made over $500 million.
it does not surprise me. It does not surprise. Anyway, the first one was really good. I mean, once you have kids, you have to watch these movies. I had to watch an Emoji Movie 10 times for Christ's sake. But like most of these movies, you watch again and again. So you have two choices: either crumble and die, or find something to love about each of them. So I tend to find something to love about them. But yeah, Boss Baby 2 is pretty good.
You can't just sell your kids.
Well,
You can't just sell them and then get yourself out of that stuff.
thing is, it's a buyer's market right now, so I don't want to lose money on the deal. Closing costs are high on kids.
You probably invested a lot at this point. So.
Yeah, yeah. One movie that I my finger was not on the pulse for, and I am really interested to hear anything about is Zola, which I'm told is based on a Twitter thread.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to talk Zola because I don't really want to review it fully.
I just want some background.
Okay, well we'll talk about it, but let's transition over to we're going to do our favorite movies of the year so far.
Right.
And since we're going to do that, and Zola is on my list, I might as well start by talking about Zola.
Might as well.
Might as well start with that one, right? I mean, we are past the halfway point. We used to do this all the time, do the best of the year so far, and it didn't do it really last year. Last year was weird. Didn't really do it.
This year's kind of weird too, but I just want to the same disclaimer I do every year, and then I never before like Travis will always say, "Hey, well, let's do our best of the year." I'll say, "Okay," and I never ask this question beforehand, which is, am I looking for the best or favorite? Because those two are vastly different in my world. So I did my favorite movies of the year.
We always have that conversation.
I know, and I always forget the answer.
And the answer is always the best to you. So if it's your favorite, then that's the same thing.
That's what I thought. Okay, cool.
Best is just the easy way to say it. It's just the best. The best to you is your favorite. That's the way I look at it.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, let's start with Zola. Zola, which I didn't get a chance to see at Sundance. It was one of those movies that I wasn't on my radar when I was there until it was too late, and it was too hard to get in for it.
Right.
So I got a chance to see it a few weeks ago, and I also did interviews for it. So you go to punchdrunkcritics.com, you'll see my interviews with director Janiska Bravo, as well as Coleman Domingo, who is an actor that I fucking love. And he's amazing in Zola, which, it is about this epic Twitter thread from 2015. This woman, her name's Zola King, I think I don't know her full name, but I know that's part of it, was detailing this insane road trip to Florida that she took with this chick that she barely knew.
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie, Zola is played by Taylor Page, who is red hot right now from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. She was also in Boogie, so yeah, she's hot right now. And her friend is played by Riley Coe, who is awesome too. And basically, it is this Twitter thread is about this road trip to Florida. These two women go down to dance at strip clubs in Florida and make a whole bunch of money. But what Zola doesn't realize is coming along for the journey is her friend's dim-witted boyfriend, played by Nicholas Braun, and also her quote-unquote roommate, played by Domingo. His name is X, and he ain't no roommate. He's a goddamn pimp. is what he is, and he's a very volatile, unpredictable pimp. Always threatening. He always seems like he's about to do something. And in the movie, he has
Are there level-headed pimps out there?
yeah, there are plenty of level-headed pimps.
I don't know many pimps, so I can't.
Yeah, you're watching The Deuce. There are plenty of level-headed pimps. They're not all insane. In fact, I would say you probably need to be a certain amount of level-headed to be able to convince anyone to do this kind of stupid shit.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah.
but anyway, in this journey is full of guns, drugs, sex, all sorts of crazy shit that Zola was not prepared for. But I think the main thing about the movie is the dynamic between these two women. Like they met only for one day and became instant best friends. I say because they recognized their mutual ratchetness. And but
Ratchet knows Ratchet.
also that they'll do anything to get ahead, which is make money. And so they became fast friends. But there's this strange power dynamic going on throughout the movie, because Zola she doesn't want to be pimping herself out. She's not going to do it, but she has to kind of stand around and be there while her friend does it in the
Mhm.
same room, and while X is nearby threatening her, and all sorts of craziness is going on in the movie. But it has this really unique style to it. It's very fast paced, energetic, quick cuts, and a lot of nods to social media because it is a Twitter thing, and it really does speak to social media celebrity really, really well. It speaks to female friendship and how it twists and turns and often breaks and rebuilds again, all sorts of strange shit. But it's also one of those movies that is very much in the vein of Spring Breakers. It kind of looks the same. It has characters that are off the chain.
Mhm.
Uh, I would probably equate X with Alien, who was James Franco's character in Spring Breakers. And actually, James Franco was the first person who was going to try and make this movie. And then he had that whole Me Too sort of situation, and then he
It's a
was out.
bad look.
Then he was out of there. Yeah, he was a really bad look for this kind of movie too, because I know he would have
Mm.
played, probably would have played X, and it would have been a whole bad thing. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this movie. It's in my top five of the year. I think it's great. People should go see it. It's available now in theaters, and I believe Hulu. I believe it's Hulu.
It's on one of them. I'm still trying to wrap my head. So this is like how much of I don't know how much your background into it goes, but how much of the story is taken directly from Twitter, but how much did they embellish?
There,
That
there
would be
are
my
there are
question.
entire sections that are taken from the Twitter, like dialogue, scenes, and there's a lot of stuff that's extrapolated on, of course, and things like that, and there's some dramatic elements that are mixed in. But
So it's safe to
there,
say this
there,
is pretty could be pretty close to something that actually happens.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
my
So
life is boring.
it's pretty nuts. Yeah, oh yeah, we're boring, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Um. Go ahead. You say something else?
I love it. That's all I was gonna say. I love this. I love Zola. It's a really great movie.
Yeah. Now I can't not watch it later. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. A crazy movie hits my number five for favorite of the year, and that's Boss Level. Something that totally surprised me. Just
So,
an insane movie that is. I mean, if somebody tells you Groundhog Day, like Die Hard meets Groundhog Day or something like that, you're gonna think it's crazy. It just such a fun movie. I know we both gave it a good review when it was on here. The fact that they could take a guy, so essentially Frank Grillo plays the main guy who has to relive the day he died every single day until he can save his wife, basically. And it plays exactly like a video game that you kind of suck at because he dies a lot. And it's just so crazy, so unabashedly fun. It definitely has to be one of my best of the year.
yeah, Boss Level was a lot of fun. Joe Carnahan, director I did not initially like because I still think Smoking Aces is a terrible movie. But a lot of stuff he's done since then, the guy just seems like he's having fun all the time. So I enjoyed Boss Level too.
Right on.
Next one for me is The Mitchells versus the Machines, which is a movie that I did not think I was gonna like. I did not expect to review it. I did not expect to do anything with it. And I watched it and I was like, "Holy shit, this is brilliant!" And I'm not gonna go too deep until we've already reviewed it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those movies that comes from Phil Lord and Chris Miller. that feels like it's different than any other animation that's being done out there. It's a little bit offbeat, a little bit quirky. Has this family that is basically the only family left after the machines take over the world, and
Mm.
they're the only ones who can stop it. And they gotta kind of come together and get past their mutual bullshit in order to do that. And I think there's a really sweet story about families coming together and putting all their differences aside to be a family so they can accomplish greater things together. I really thought this movie was fantastic. The animation is beautiful. It's just super fun too, because it's also a little bit like National Lampoon's Meet the End of the World, which I think is great.
Yeah. If the Griswolds were attacked by aliens on their way to Wally World, this is definitely what would have happened to me. I can see that for sure.
Exactly. So yeah, I love the Mitchells versus the Machines. I think it's one of the best movies of the year. It might end up still being on my list when we get to the end of the year.
Yeah, I can't fault you for that choice. I mean, Lord and Miller, they found it's funny because you always think to change the game on something you have to do something drastic, but they've taken animation, which is something that's been around, in its current format for 30 years since Toy Story, and in other formats for God, 100 years, and they add these little things, these little asides and these like cartoon comic bubbles to it, and it makes it feel like an entirely different thing. It's those little touches that really set them apart. Same, just like Into the Spider Verse had, and while it's over the top and while it never really gets cheesy. I thought in the family moments, and
No,
I have a daughter myself, so obviously it hit me
what?
kind of hard in that whole bit of not so much what I have now because she's 6, but what it's going to be like when she's a teenager. It really nailed all the warm family aspects while still commenting pretty well on
She
modern
becomes a
society.
filmmaker and she decides I need to get away from my parents.
Yeah,
Get away
uh,
from them.
she loves recording things, and she'll probably, but for different reasons. She'll be like, I gotta get away from my dad because his taste sucks. He doesn't know what's good. But yeah. Next on my list was I have kind of a theme going through here was Army of the Dead. While yeah, I kind of had a hard time finding a lot of movies that I'd put as really good in my category this year. Like when I started looking back, I seem to remember a whole bunch of stuff. But looking back through the year, there were plenty of good quality movies, but nothing that like I was like, oh yeah, I would love to watch that again. Or you,
Amusement Park at number one. Can I anticipate that?
what's that?
Amusement Park is number one. I already know that.
A Bad Trip is number one. The amusement park is number two. Yeah.
Now, see, you say that, but Bad Trip might be in your list, and I'm be like, ugh.
See, that's what I mean. That's what my daughter thinks I have bad taste. No, it's not. It is certainly not. But Army of the Dead, I'm sucking for a good zombie movie. And after all this time, you would think it's been 20 years since Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead came and Shaun of the Dead and 28 Days Later and that stuff since it really reinvigorated the zombie movement. And we're still here. And I'm a huge fan of Dave Bautista. I loved that they did something different and kept the contamination quarantine to Vegas. It had just enough funny, just enough different to make it stand out, and the action was really good. So
Yeah, I enjoyed Army of the Dead a lot, and yeah, it combines a lot of the things I love, especially heist movies, which are among my favorite.
hmm
So, this is a new way to do it. The cast is tremendous. A whole lot of fun with this cast. Yeah, I enjoyed Army of the Dead. Good pick.
all right, what else
My
you got?
my next one is the very first movie I saw this year. And it was a movie called Little Fish, and I'm not gonna dig too deep into it. It's Jack O'Connell and Olivia Cook, two of my
Love
favorite.
Olivia Cook.
Oh yeah, I love Olivia Cook. And basically, and it came on at just the right time. So because it's kind of dealing with the pandemic, but it's not a pandemic movie.
hmm
And it's basically set um, in the United States where is it the United States? I think it was in the United States. It might have been in England, but I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, a disease is running rampant, and it's causing people to lose their memories.
hmm
So they're losing everything. They're losing everything about themselves, kind of like a dementia or something along those lines, you know.
hmm
And what you have is like society kind of breaking down because of it, and relationships and friendships, all those sorts of things that break down about around it. And Olivia Cook and Jack O'Connell play a couple who we see them meet and we see how their relationship grows together, and then we also kind of see it begin to fall apart because of this virus that's out there. But we also see what's going on in the outside in the world around them, and how it's affecting other people and how it's changing them, and it's kind of a heartbreaking, bittersweet movie.
Hmm.
But it has elements that kind of circular elements that kind of remind you of Eternal Sunshine as well, because it deals a lot with memory and things like that. I absolutely just loved it, and I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting anything out of this movie, and it's one of my favorites. But it's a really great film. People should go and seek it out. I assume it's on every streaming platform at this point. But yeah, it's a movie worth catching up with, especially if you're a fan of Olivia Cook. So
Yeah, oh, big time. Ever since Ready Player One is really, I know that's probably a sad thing to be introduced to her by, but she's done a lot of really quality film. But ever since I saw Ready Player One,
that was post Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and she didn't pop for me in that for some reason. I keep using the term pop a lot today. I don't know why. So I remember seeing that movie, and
Motel? Bates Motel didn't do it for you?
I never watched Bates Motel. And that's another one. Just right, it's on the queue right next to my Purge list. Um, but I still haven't catch it, and it's on Hulu for anybody who wants to see it. We really need to be
Make a
fun.
list. I need to make a list of all the shows that I intend to watch, because every time I think of something that's like, you know what, I can start that when I finish this next thing. I
Mhm.
forget it by the time I'm done.
Every time. The worst is Angela. And I don't know when you go to bed. I don't know if you have the TV on, but Angela and I have the TV on every night when we go to bed. We have very specific criteria for what can be on. It can't be anything we haven't seen, because it'll be too interesting. We won't fall asleep. Anyway, um,
I
inevitably
turn
when
the
we're
news on when I go to bed. That way I always fall asleep.
you turn on the news, are you like having nightmares? Do you?
No, I always go to sleep.
um, but yeah, so inevitably every single night we think of some movie that we really want to watch, and then we go to sleep and never remember it again until like 3 weeks later when we can't watch it. But
I really need to keep a list. Like I was thinking the other day, I was like, I never did watch Too Old to Die Young,
mm,
which was the Nicholas Winding Refn series on Amazon, with
right.
Michael Feller, and I was like, how did I never watch that? I mean, I know I wrote about it plenty of times,
Hmm.
but I never watched it. I still need to watch Orphan Black. I need
I
to all these things I still need to watch, but I'll never remember them. So right now I'm watching Resident Alien.
Oh, isn't it good? Resident
Resident,
Alien is so much fun.
it's fucking great. I love it.
It's
I love it. I love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite show right now. I'm loving it.
it is just so it stars Alan Tudyk, who really will never be appreciated enough in the world for what he deserves, because that man is just amazing, and he's an alien who's hiding out on Earth, and disguising himself, and he's just not very good at disguising. Like, and even in the first two episodes when he gets around the kid, he's like, "I'm going to cut your head off," or whatever he says. Oh man, it's great. But yeah, we need to be sponsored by Just Watch, which is an app, best app out there for knowing what's on streaming services. Is what I just used to look up Little Fish. So Just Watch, people, if you're out there, here's your free plug. Next on my list was Snyder Cut. I did not expect to like the Snyder Cut so much. I did not expect it to add so much to Justice League, which admittedly I didn't hate, but I didn't love it. And Snyder Cut, I loved. I don't know if I. The thing is, I don't know if I would have loved it if it was the only thing that came out, or if I love it more because the improvement on the other one or everything surrounding it. But to see something taken and changed, I think after writing about movies for the better part of 12 years, loving movies my entire life, that movie solidified for me the difference a director can make. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, it matters. I mean, it matters a lot.
Hmm.
I'm just switch. I'm not going to talk about the Snyder Cut. I mean, everybody knows my feelings about Snyder Cut. I liked it a lot. I was just watching a movie called Die in a Gunfight, which is a movie that I've been looking forward to a lot because it stars our girl Alexandra Daddario.
I just watched the trailer for it. Yeah.
Right. And I was watching it, and the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I wish this had any other director. Like, I wish it just had a different director. Like, just a different one.
Who directs it?
Somebody who's unknown.
Oh.
I think it's probably their first feature.
Hmm.
And it feels like it, and it kind of looks like it. There's a lot of bells and whistles that detract from it, and they kind of feel amateurish, like somebody like I can do this, and they just kind
Hmm.
of do it. It's kind of one of those things, and I was like, I just wish this had because there are elements there that are really good. There's a lot of stuff in there to like. There's a reason why the script is on the the blacklist of,
I mean,
you know,
it's a Romeo and Juliet story, yeah.
basically it's
Yeah.
a Romeo Juliet slash true romance sort of thing, and and you're just kind of wishing a better director, a more experienced director at that, and it's like a director makes all the difference.
Yeah.
The director can take a really great script and make it not look great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
crazy. So.
yeah, it's one of those things. All right, so that's three of mine. So I guess this will be my fourth one.
Yep.
F9. I'm gonna put F9 in there, and we just talked about F9 like last week, so I'm not gonna sit here and talk about why I like F9.
Hmm.
But this is the first Fast and Furious movie in a few years that I really like genuinely loved. Like I like them all, right? Like they're
Yeah.
all fine. This is like one that I actively really liked.
Yeah.
So, damn sight better than Fate of the Furious. And John Cena really did, you know, bring something to the franchise. So I was happy about that.
It's his year, man. I'm telling you, after the Suicide Squad, people are gonna really, really respect his ability to do a lot of different things. Maybe not as a dramatic actor, who knows, but as a comedic actor, as an action actor, I think he's really cut his own. I think the only reason F9 didn't make my list is because I've only seen it once. I find with the Fast movies, they're a special type of movie that I have to watch multiple times, and every time I watch it, I like it more and more and more. So check back in with me. Don't be surprised if our end of the year list does include F9, or my end of the year list, I should say.
Gotcha.
Um, Next up for me is In the Heights. My only non-action film on the list. I'm
Say
just.
right now, before you go any further, I'm going to say In the Heights is my next one too.
Oh,
So
really?
my fifth one, my fifth and final one is In the Heights. So I'm not even going to
Well,
bother going any further into it because you're going to do all the talking for me. Go ahead.
there you go. I mean, I don't like liking things that are cliche. I'm not like a hipster, but I also don't like jumping on the bandwagon for things. But I'm full on the Lin Manuel Miranda bandwagon. Hamilton came out on Disney Plus this time last year. I watched it, fell in love with it. My kids, we listened to the soundtrack so much, my kids sing the songs around the house. My daughter's walking around the other day, going, "I want to be in the room where it happened." I mean, it's that serious. Um, in the Heights comes out. I mean, I've talked on here plenty of times. My family's got, well, not my wife's family has Puerto Rican heritage, so it hit close to home for her. But it was such a fun, warm, enjoyable. This is the world I want to live in movie. The music is Miranda has just this immense gift for making um, songs that are not only deep but also catchy and repeatable. And there's not enough I could say about this movie. It was just damn near perfect.
Yeah, it's great. I wish it had done better at the box office, but who cares? It's still a great movie regardless, and it's my number. It's not these are ranked or anything, but it's my fifth pick.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean I love it too, and I hope people are finding it on HBO Max. I really do.
And my final pick is not one I can talk a lot about, but and I'm sure it'll be on Travis's if we do this list next week. Is Black Widow. All I'll say is I expected a good action movie. I expected a good story. What I didn't expect was for it to be so goddamn fun. And Florence Pugh, who I've also always liked, I now love. She's she's just every bit of awesome. And if the Young Avengers is going to happen, and it goes on her back, I think we're going to be in great hands, just fine.
Okay,
So,
all right. I'm a big fan of Florence Pugh as well. So
dude, you're going to love her in Black Widow. It's she's so good, so good. So yeah, that's our. Now I want to do one bonus question, and I'm putting you on the spot for this, but um, of the movies we have left, which do you think will, and not the best, most anticipated, but which one do you think will end up being on your list for the end of the year?
these five.
No, no, of the movies that we have left to see, like
Oh,
upcoming movies.
um,
Like for instance, I'm putting Gunpowder Milkshake on mine. There's no way I
really?
don't love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm super pumped for Gunpowder Milkshake. Um, the problem is whenever I tend to get hyped for something, it tends to disappoint. So I
Oh
don't
well, then don't get hyped for it, for God's sakes.
know, but it's too late though.
Yeah.
There was something else too that's coming out that's like, it's a spy movie. It's the one with Maggie Q.
Mm.
That spy movie, which I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'm trying to book an interview with her, by the way. Um,
I love Maggie Q so much that I even love the
Protege,
movie Protege.
Protege with her, Michael Keaton, and Samuel L. Jackson, and
Right.
it looks like a movie that Luc Besson would have made like 20 years ago.
Now I
Uh,
disagree. There was no redheaded freckle girls in the trailer that I saw.
there's only one movie that had the redheaded freckles. But it looks like this kind of classic style female assassin movies
Right.
with the professional and with them Nikita and even Colombiana. 'Cause I think you co-wrote that or wrote that or produced it, one of those things. But it looks like one of those movies that could end up on my list. But I have a feeling it probably won't. I honestly I don't know. I'm hoping Black Widow will end up there. We got to remember Spider-Man still coming up this year.
Oh
Uh,
shit, that's right.
Venom. I mean, we got a whole lot of stuff that's coming up this year. Shang Chi. Shang Chi could end up on my list. There's so much stuff that's still left.
I didn't not even put, I don't know where my brain is, but I didn't even put the weight on all the things that are left. I choose Gunpowder Milkshake, which honestly will be on the end of the year list. I can almost guarantee it because it's so far up my alley. I'm living on it. But
Yeah,
this is a strange year because it's end heavy. You know, it's back end loaded. Usually we have the same amount, if not more stuff in the first half of the year. But this year we have almost all the stuff in the second half. That's crazy.
yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up, man.
Yeah. So we'll save our airtime. We're coming up on an hour here. We'll save your ears and your patience for us because we got a lot to talk about this year coming up. We are the Punch Drunk Critics. Our site is www.punchdrunkcritics.com. Make sure you go and check out Travis's interview with Chris Pratt and who else from the well,
A lot of interviews this week, man. So we
yeah, a
had the
lot of them.
interviews with Chris Pratt and Edwin Hodge, interviews with Keith Powers and Jasmine Matthews, all of those for the Tomorrow War. I did interviews with for Zola, say Coleman Domingo and writer director Jessica Bravo, and I also did interviews for the movie First Date, which I had seen at Sundance, and I just did interviews for those. So I got the two young stars of that movie. Um, yeah, a lot of interviews these last couple of weeks. So and we got more coming. So
And you can
everybody should be checking out our Punch Drunk Critics YouTube channel, so you can get those subscribe to that, so you get notified when those happen,
mhm.
and checking out the site every day as well.
Yeah, definitely subscribe, guys, to YouTube, or if you prefer podcast only, where you can catch us there as well. Either one, we're happy for. Again, it's www.punchdrunkcritics.com. On Twitter, you can get alerts and updates for every time we post an article, not even just the interviews, all the latest news and all that. If you follow us on Twitter at PDC Movies, Travis is at Punchy Critic, and I am at Punch Drunk John. On Twitch, Travis's handle is at cinematic_enforcer. And if you guys have any tips or questions for us, if you want to try your hand at writing, you want to send us a sample, we're always looking for great new writers and looking for all the info from you guys. So info@punchdrunkcritics.com. Until next week, when we go, oh, I was going to say balls deep, but I shouldn't say that about this. When we go really, really
Black
deep
Widow?
into Black Widow.
Were you going to say we were going to go balls deep into Black Widow?
I was.
Say that?
I was, but I'll have to edit this episode now. Check us out next week when we tastefully review Black Widow. We'll see you guys then. For the Punch Drunk Critics, I'm John.
That's going to be the title of this episode, by the way. Now, too.
Balls deep.
Balls. Our next week's episode. Balls. Black Widow.
Balls deep with the Black Widow. There's not only one way to do it. Until then, guys, I'm John.
And I'm Travis.
And we're out of here.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.